This is Next Radio.
With Broadcast Bionics. Innovative solutions for creative people.
Good morning, everybody. I'm Simon.
I'm Mark.
Okay, we're here today to talk to you about radio and the bigger picture. We have a number wang appeal. Don't worry, it's nothing to do with BBC salaries. If you remember the TV show, That Mitchell and Webb Look, there used to be a quiz show, Number Wang, where contestants scored points by making random predictions from a series of ridiculous numbers.
But what some of you may not know is that number wang's taken on a whole new meaning in the digital media world, denoting when people make disingenuous claims about audience size by aggregating data in a misleading way. So today, we'd like to turn the tables and create a number wang appeal on behalf of radio, which involves everyone in this room helping us to build up the data to enable us to create a true sense of the scale and influence of radio for people who don't work in the medium. And that's vital to everyone in this room, for commercial radio people, because it's going to help attract more ad revenue, and also for the BBC to raise the profile and status of radio internally.
So why does it matter? Well, actually, there's a disconnect. There's a disconnect between the way people in this room view radio as a medium and the way people outside in the wider market view it. Insiders, as you will hear from countless speakers today, view radio as hugely important, hugely influential in people's lives. And why wouldn't they? There's loads of evidence that suggests that it is. Radar suggests that 91% of the population listen to radio every week. That's 47 million people. That's a big number. It also suggests that they tune in for over 21 hours a week. So they're spending a hell of a lot of time with the medium. And finally, independent research from the IPA's Touchpoint survey, which is a measure of all media consumption in the UK, shows that radio is the second most consumed medium after TV. So what's the problem?
Well, the issue is that people outside radio feel it's small and insignificant. And they too can point to a range of different research sources to demonstrate why. A recent RAB study into attitudes amongst advertising customers highlighted that most of them feel that radio is a medium on the way down and difficult to sell in to both clients and colleagues alike. In terms of revenue, radio's 4% share of the overall ad spend market is another piece of evidence demonstrating the relative lack of importance of radio compared to other media. No wonder then that in a survey from earlier this year, more media people felt that radio had a tough year ahead of it than a good year ahead.
And if you look at the wider market overall, obviously people's focus is on digital. And actually, that makes matters worse for radio. And some of the stats coming up will illustrate why. Again, if we look at Radar, 37% of listening to radio is via digital platforms. And we've all been marketing in the industry how that's been growing and what a good story that is for the sector. But compare it with television. 100% of TV viewing is digital. And what exacerbates the problem is if you look at the wider market, when people in the wider market talk about digital, what they mean is connected. And despite growth in connected listening over the last couple of years, a lot of it driven by Radio Player, radio's share of listening to connected devices still sits at a paltry 6%. But if you really want an illustration of why radio is perceived as small and relatively insignificant in a digital era, we're going to talk to you about revenue. The RAB's very own Debbie McGee is now going to show you. Mark, could you illustrate to the audience, please? This is radio's revenue from connected platforms. And to put that into context, could you now illustrate the total digital display revenue? This is why he is the Debbie McGee of the RAB, I'm afraid. James and Matt will clear that up during the coffee break. So don't worry if you've got to speak on here later about slipping on it. So in summary, I think that gives you a perspective of why radio, if you were so minded, could be characterised as relatively small and insignificant in the context of a wider digital market.
Okay, so here's what we're thinking. Let's play these digital evangelists at their own game by creating number wang all of our own. I'm going to start by briefly exploring what number wang means in a media context. So let's imagine you're a digital media service. You've got fairly banal and unimpressive audience stats. Say 15% of your user base shares an average of 2 minutes of video every day. But don't let that hold you back. Why not ramp it up completely and focus solely on total volume usage? Which is exactly what Digital TV Group did on behalf of Facebook at a summit in May this year, as revealed in this tweet from Nigel Worley. And I'm sure you'll agree that 600 years of YouTube content shared every day is a far more impressive number than the rather mundane stats that make up that overall figure. But the interesting thing is, when it comes to the number one game, radio can beat the best of them. Have a look at this, comparing radio listening to these Facebook stats. UK daily radio listening dwarfs YouTube content shared on Facebook at a global level by a factor of 28 to 1. That's massive. It's clear from this that playing the number one game can put radio in a really strong position. So we'd like to play the game more often in the future to help capture and demonstrate the scale of radio's digital platforms.
We wouldn't be the first to do it. The newspaper industry have already begun to play this game. If you look at these stats from the NRS PAD survey, what they do is they combine audience data from print editions and combine it with websites. And what this is beginning to do in the wider market, you'll all see it yourselves, is it's beginning to position a medium that was seen as in slow and inexorable decline as one that's seeing healthy audience growth. So what can we do about it? Well, actually, it's pretty simple. All of this data exists. It all exists within the companies that you work for. We are asking you to help us to aggregate this data up for total mobile downloads, Twitter followers, Facebook likers, logged in accounts, anything else you can think of. But it exists, but we're not aggregating it and we're not marketing it and selling it to the wider market.
But we wouldn't just stick at reach. In terms of radio's connected engagement, we could look at total monthly app users, in-app dwell time, social media response, monthly active logged-in listening accounts. Whatever data we can pull together to help build this profile will be very, very valuable. Now, these lists aren't exhaustive, but they're a good start point, and maybe you guys have got more that you'd want to add to them. But you might have a question, which is, why aren't we already doing this? The data is out there for a lot of this. Why isn't it happening? Well, the answer, as in so many cases, is politics. So that's why we need the support of the people in this room to help persuade the cautious to be bold so that we can start to aggregate data in this way to present a true picture of the reach, scale, and influence of radio in the digital media context.
How do you do it? Well, there's a couple of things that you can do on a practical level. The Radio Technology Group is a quarterly forum that meets, chaired by Mark Friend from the BBC. You could contact your representative on that group and give them your help and backing to get these numbers out into the market. Or you can contact us at the RAB if you've got any thoughts of your own about how we might begin to aggregate up this data and market it.
So all that remains for us to say is thank you very much for allowing us to build up a total gross presentation exposure time of 30 hours over the last 9 minutes. And that's number one. Thank you.
Yeah, no, that's really useful. Really helpful to see how radio should really be making more of its numbers, and most of us should just think beyond the obvious.
I knew that today, I've been to the Next Radio before, and you know that it's always going to be a mixture of graphs and presentation and creative thinking. And I like all those things, love the graphs.
Some of the more detailed stuff, how we can sell ourselves a bit better. That's really important. Most of us don't think about that stuff too much.
This is Next Radio.
With Broadcast Bionics, innovative solutions for creative people.